Yes, hello my friends. I hope you're having an amazing start to your weekend. We had a very busy week, several clips of Mike Pence on the show, and it got me thinking. I was wondering, why are we seeing this big about face from him? He was pretty quiet, pretty accommodating to the January 6th committee, not very useful to Donald Trump or his defense over the last 18 months, really ever since January 6th. And then suddenly he's got this book coming out. And he is now defending Trump. He's defending Mar-a-Lago. He's defending January 6th. Back-to-back news programs. I think he was on with Chuck Todd and yesterday on with somebody else. And we're saying, this is weird. Where'd all this come from? It sort of feels like he's setting us up for something. Or, there's a bigger story arc that's all going to make sense soon enough. And it got me pondering. I was thinking, Mike Pence, he's a pretty intelligent guy. I think he's kind of a Machiavellian, right? As any politician is. They are very good schemers and they plot these things out several steps down the road. So I was wondering, every single person who's running in the Republican primary, and Mike Pence certainly will be one of them, has a unique problem. They got to get rid of Trump while keeping Trump's voters, really. They don't want him to control that side of the base, which is like a solid 30-40%, maybe more. And they have to sort of crack and decouple Trump from the voters. It's going to be a very difficult thing to do. So I was wondering, how do you do that, right, if you're a politician? And I think this might be where Mike Pence is going. And I'm not sure I've heard this. And I know it's going to be a spicy one if it happened. But Mike Pence could split, or theoretically do this, split Trump from his base, or from a portion of his base, enough to sort of weaken Trump with a pardon. He says, as part of my campaign, Mike Pence, running for office, the country needs to move on past all of this stuff. So yeah, gosh, in the mold of like a Ford Nixon thing, in the interest of just helping the country move past all this, yeah, I would be open to pardoning Trump. Special counsel's coming, right? This is further down the road. This, like right now, this seems kind of crazy, right? Further down the road, when all this heats up, special counsel's investigating, indictment's coming. Things are looking very dreary. Trump's maybe on the ropes. People are sort of abandoning ship. Mike Pence says to Trump and his voters, look, here's the deal. You support me. I'm going to do what Trump should have done. I'm going to pardon all the J6ers. I'm going to pardon everybody who was involved, who's nonviolent, including Trump. All of it's gone. All the Democrat inquisitions of the Republican Party, reform the DOJ. We're going to get rid of the FBI, or reform the FBI, right? All of that, make that promise. And it doesn't make much sense right now. I acknowledge that. But this is on the forward, anticipation that this special counsel thing really heats up and draws a ton of oxygen, which it will. That's why they're doing it, to make this a perpetual prosecution. So you can see the boiling point maybe comes to a climax, reaches a crest in, a year from now. Maybe an indictment hits as the, campaign really comes into full swing, and people start clamoring, what do we do about this? Somebody in the Republican Party comes out and says, okay, here's the deal. Let's just move on past this. And I think it does two things. There's certainly going to be a big portion of Trump's base that just says, get the, who cares, whatever that, whatever. Trump or die, ride or die to the end. But there may be other people who will say, the real problem is a broken DOJ or a broken FBI. And that, yeah, maybe that is what the country needs. And they could say, there is historical precedent. There is sort of what Ford did with Nixon and we just sort of put it past everybody with a blanket pardon, which Trump had the power to do and he didn't do it. And I think it might win a portion of the base over. Maybe not a lot, but again, you don't need a lot. You just need a portion of people to just say, okay, we'll move. We'll change teams. And it kind of is an alpha move. You know, you could think about Mike Pence doing that, but you could also think about Ron DeSantis doing that. He could come out and just say, look, enough of this crap, right? The Democrats, liberals are totally corrupt. I want to take this off the field. I don't even want to make this an issue. Okay, in other words, Republicans, I think if they're being smart, they might use this issue of Trump that is certainly being used as a wedge to divide sort of the mainstream GOP from the Trump side of the GOP. You moot the issue. You just say, well, regardless of what happens, we're just, we think it's political hack job prosecution. And so I'm not going to make any comments about it other than I think it's a pardonable issue. I'll pardon Trump just so we can move on from this. And it kind of makes Trump look like he has to be the beneficiary of somebody who is stronger than him, giving him the graciousness of their pardon. Okay, we saw something like this, remember, when Trump even used this tactic, by the way, when he was ripping on Hillary during the campaign. Remember, she was sort of in a similar situation when she was under investigation from Comey. And then he rewrote the rules and changed all the memos so that he didn't have to indict her. Trump's not going to get that same benefit at all. But remember Trump, there was that correspondence dinner, or there was that dinner, I think, with the bishop or something, I forget what it was. And Trump was joking with Hillary, and he said, he was sort of doing his monologue where I think they roast each other a little bit. And he said that Hillary gave him a call, and said something like, "Pardon me." Remember that joke? They bumped into her at the elevator, and Hillary said, "Pardon me." But it wasn't about pardon me for the bump. It was about like, pardon me, please, I'm about to get indicted, right? So he sort of used that as that like alpha, I'm gonna be winning the presidency, and because I'm so sure of it, I'm so confident of this outcome, I will pardon you when my time in power comes. So I could sort of see that, and then you can make that, it's like extending an olive branch, and it moots the issue a little bit, because then you don't have to fight against it. You can sort of say, look, it's bad, it's wrong, whatever, it's irrelevant. It's, in 2024, it's 3-4 years old by the time it really matters. And it becomes like a dead issue. Just say, we're going to move on past this. The process has been corrupted. And so it's not about, right, you're not arguing about the merits of the insurrection or the merits of the documents. You just say the whole thing is just illegitimate because it is tainted at the outset. It's poisoned from the beginning. And so we should just acknowledge it was a bad era, move on. And it sort of takes it off the board. So we'll see. Now, I don't know why else Mike Pence is, reversing his, or becoming a lot more outspoken. And I was thinking about it after the show. I really haven't heard any other Republican making as strong of a defense for Trump as we heard from Mike Pence this week. I was like surprised. I'm like, these are literally the same arguments we've been making. And he was forceful about them. No representation on the committee. Talked about unprecedented, invasions of the president's residence. Never happened. He's not showing up to testify. Congress has no right to his testimony. All this stuff. You're like, who the hell is this guy? Where'd he come from? So why? Because they're not stupid. they know that Trump has a big portion of that primary vote. And they got to fight for a piece of that pie. So how are they going to do it? I think a pardon will come into play. Not anytime soon. It's too fresh. I mean, they just opened up the recipe book. These grand juries. Oh, perfect. Jack Smith just apparently impaneled a bunch of them starting on Friday. So more will come. But I expect to see the media jump on that one too. They'll just start asking people about it. Would you pardon Trump? Because it also is sort of thinking past the sale, right? It's already tarnishing him as being guilty when he's not been found guilty. That's the other super sort of persuasion power that you get out of a move like that. It's sort of presuming that he's guilty. He's never been found guilty. Would you pardon him for what? His crimes? Well, yeah, I would pardon him for his crimes. He hasn't been convicted of anything yet, right? And the pardon, for a pardon, you don't have to be convicted of anything. But people think that you do, and it sort of taints you with that stink. And they could say, oh, Trump pardoned, or Pence pardoned Trump, or he offered to pardon Trump. Pence offered to pardon his own president because he knew how guilty he was. And so like Pence gets like a twofer out of that. He gets that extra media exposure, he gets that alpha position, and then it also smears Trump. So seems like a no-brainer to me, unless I'm missing something, which is very, very possible and in fact likely. But there's other Trump news on Twitter. He is the subject of a new poll from Elon. Elon on his timeline is unbanning a number of accounts. Yesterday there were a bunch of people. Jordan Peterson came back, Babylon B came back, and there are many others. I can't remember all of them right now. But Elon said Freedom Friday, accounts started popping back up. Somebody said, well, what about Alex Jones? Free speech and all of that. And Elon said, no, there's not going to happen. And got some costumes or something down here today. Everybody's dressing up. Look, we've got some, I don't know. Okay. So Elon is saying, no, Alex Jones not coming back. And Alex Jones posted a very interesting video, and he said, don't blame Elon. It's perfectly okay. Don't worry about me coming back on. Don't get mad at him. Said, this is secondary. Elon has to get control of the platform before he can think about bringing me back on, because he's the most controversial figure in the world, essentially. And he's saying everybody is putting their thumbs on him, meaning Elon and Twitter, to not allow Alex Jones back on. Okay. So we'll start small, baby steps, little bites, just start small. But then Elon posts his poll, Trump, except I forget how he worded it, but unsuspend Trump from the platform, yes or no. And yesterday on our locals after party, we were looking at the poll, and it was 60-40 yes, bring him back. I'm like, wow, it's pretty interesting. Yeah. And even I was like, wow, it's pretty low. Like 60-40 yes, bring him back is like, it's a little scary. But we fast forwarded to this morning, and the poll's like 52-48 now. And really tightening up. It's like, my goodness, half the people on Twitter are that interested in censorship, like they're that excited about removing somebody off the internet. Don't bring him back. Why? Because he's dangerous or disinformation? I mean, there's all sorts of reasons for it. Inciting insurrection, all this stuff. I mean, there are there are people on Twitter who are, leading war crimes and stuff on Twitter, actively posting, brutal regimes and all sorts of stuff. So people are just, I think it's just TDS run amok, and they can't really rationalize their own hatred for the man, other than they just don't want to see him. And they just want to see, it's like true happiness is seeing your neighbor fall off his roof. They hate Trump, they hate their neighbor, he fell off the roof, they just want to see him lying there miserable. And it's just, it's a sort of a tribal battle that exists more than it is like a logical, rational justification for anything. So it's a scary thought that, that big of a portion of the country might just be that opposed to free speech, and that it's so anchored, it's so sort of rooted in that tribalism that it's just not even important anymore. Because it used to be, I think, a much bigger issue. And this is a globe, right? This is the other part of this, is we don't really know the legitimacy of the poll. And people are asking about this. They're saying, why would Elon post something like this? Maybe this is sort of a trap for bots. He wants to catch the bots. Because what happened was the poll was pretty far apart. We were about, 60-40 difference. And then we saw a big collapse of the polls that could happen really quickly, almost overnight. And people were thinking that these were bots. And you could imagine that the type of data that he gets just from that single poll, it's got to be massive. Where are the votes coming from? Are they on-site, off-site? Are these from the United States or not the United States? Are these from, certain clusters of addresses or accounts? Can you see relationships between the accounts? On Twitter, you can see a lot of bots, right? You can see like a lot of the same accounts are made with same profile pictures or slightly modified numbers. It's like Rob G1234, Rob G X27945, whatever it is, botted up all over. Are those the people voting on this? And if so, what does that mean? And so Elon actually confirmed that, right? He said the data that we're getting from these bots are, I think he said breathtaking, or said it was breathtaking to see, or it was amazing to see, pretty shocking. And you can imagine, right? That's the type of sort of astroturf that has been going on for a long time. People are making a lot of fun election jokes. Oh, yeah, those were those overnight votes from Maricopa County. They must have just appeared at 2 a.m. We all woke up and the polls closed. Whoop. Must have been those Maricopa County votes. Yeah. I'm embarrassed. We're in Maricopa County right now. Yeah. Not far from the tabulation center. But we'll see what Elon does with that poll. Whether Trump will come back or not, of course, will be the subject of much debate, but I've always been of the mindset if you don't want to hear from somebody, you just mute them, just block them. But other people live in other realities, I suppose. Yeah, watching some parallel parking going on right now. Okay. A lot of activity down here today. You can see costumes. I don't know what the event is, but looks like it will be fun for them. And it is a beautiful day to be out and about, getting some sunshine, getting some fresh air. And so I hope you are doing that. If you're not, if it's a little bit snowy, here's some downtown Phoenix sun for you. Oh yeah, hold the phone right up, close to your screen. Oh yeah, that's good. Woo! Even got some reflection in my eyeballs. That's how good it is. Love it. Hope you're having an amazing day, my friends, and an amazing weekend. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.